all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
Now,
the No Fruit Podcast.
yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Maurice.
And this is Kafa.
We thank you for tuning in today. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Wow, Kav, we're back.
We're back, Reese.
We're back. And we have a lot to talk about. We have not spoken to y'all for almost a year now, and a lot has transpired in that year. So, Kav, first of all, before we get into anything, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling all right. I'm here. I'm good.
Okay, that's rather abrupt, I guess, or short. Well, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling okay. I think that we've had a lot of things going on this past year, and before we get into anything real deep, you know, we just want to thank y'all for continuing to listen to us while we were off the air for a little while. Yeah, I mean, even though we were not putting up new episodes and things like that, but people were still listening. They were still.
Thank you.
You know, we appreciate that. So, one of the things that Kaf and I had done while, you know, we were on our break, if you will, we have taken in the time to watch a TV series. And what's the name of that series with the first ladies?
That's it, the first lady.
Yeah. You know, so in that I learned a lot. I learned. You know, they had talked about Eleanor Roosevelt,
Betty
Ford,
yes.
right, and Michelle Obama, and all the struggles that they had to endure, overcome, whatever. I mean, it was very enlightening to see the work behind the scenes. You know, a lot of times you see the males, you know, i.e. myself, you know, in the limelight, right?
Yes.
But then you know, you don't know how the lady or the real action behind the scenes. You know, and for those of you who know Kafa and I mean, that's exactly how things are with us. She is the engine. I'm just a facade. I'm just the outside, the plastic part, you know, whatever, the car, you know, but she is definitely the engine. So, and we're bringing this up because, as most of you know, Queen Elizabeth just passed away.
The second.
Yes, she's the second. Yeah. Right. I guess the first one passed away quite some time ago. You know, but Queen Elizabeth II just passed away. And the difference is that she was the face. She was the engine. And a lot of people had a lot of negative things to say, which we're not going to do, right? We just know that there are some challenges that women have in leadership positions.
Right. Whether you are the face or if you are standing beside that leader or behind that leader in whatever capacity, there's just still in this day and age still some issues when it comes to women in leadership. You know, at one particular time, not too long ago, women had almost a second-class citizenship. You know, they were not expected to be in the workplace. They were not expected to be in the forefront. They were not expected to speak. They weren't expected to do a lot of things. And it's like that still in some other countries. They can't show their face. They can't talk. They can't, you know, so there's a lot of other things that go on across the world. But here in these United States, as Maurice was alluding to, when it comes to our government and those in the presidency and their spouses, how much the women and the wives, the first ladies, if you will, have taken a role in behind the scenes assisting things, you know. So as we looked at the series and how much, as you said, Eleanor Roosevelt had partaken a strong role with her husband in reviewing speeches and giving him ideas and, you know, helping him pick people out for cabinet positions and things like that. And the same thing when it came to the other ladies that you said, Betty Ford and Michelle Obama, how much that marriage is a partnership. And I think people forget that when people are in a role of leadership, that they still are married, and that marriage is a union, and that marriage is the two becoming one. So yes, you do lean on your spouse to kind of share when you had a bad day. You do lean on your spouse when you're like, well, hey, like, what do you think? Should I do this or should I do that? Should I wear the blue suit or the brown suit? You know what I mean? And, you know, not saying that Michelle Obama was the one that said, oh, yeah, honey, wear the tan suit. But that became, you know, such headlines when he wore, you know, a different colored suit.
Right.
So, you know, with all of that, again, when it comes to the Queen, you know, I think she was a great example of women in leadership, and that she was able to do that for 70 years.
Yeah.
That's huge, you know.
Right.
Again, that's just the way that they govern.
Right.
But,
and
you know, just hearing everyone, sorry, Reese, hearing everyone in their remarks on how much of an impact that has had in their life. Like a lot of people our age, like we don't know anybody else but Queen Elizabeth II.
Correct.
You know,
correct.
And just to look at her story and that she started this when she was 21, I cannot imagine. We have a 21-year-old child.
Right, right.
I can't imagine her.
Especially today, right.
Leading. Here. You know, now she's a leader. You know, she's taken on leadership roles within her college and within her organizations. But to lead an entire country, you know, to lead an entire church, you know, all of those things. So it's interesting. And I'm not saying people are not capable, because I'm sure there's some women leaders who have started their own organizations and are leading, you know, things at that age. But that's a lot to take on. So
most definitely.
When people in Queen Elizabeth II's life, and their comments about her, same thing when it came to those three ladies that the series was on. They kind of always said they were kind of hard, you know, exterior wise, but you kind of have to be in some way, you know, in order to get respected, in order to be heard. And it's a lot that gets tossed at you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's.
I mean, so what year? I can't remember what years were Eleanor Roosevelt in the office. Do you remember?
I don't remember. I mean,
I don't remember either.
We do have things that we could look it up.
Yeah, right. The reason I'm saying that, because if you think about just how long.
Yeah, I mean, this was before it was a 4-year term, so she was there for.
No. What I'm getting at is that if you think about just how long Queen Elizabeth has been around.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
You know, did she span all three? I don't think she did. But, you know, you just wonder.
It says that she served as First Lady of the United States from 1933 to 1945.
So.
That's, you know, greater than a 10-year span.
No. What I'm getting at is that did Queen Elizabeth, you know, she was born around that time. You know, what was because what I did not know was Eleanor was over in England, Paris, you know, educationally, things like that. I didn't know what her real background was.
Right.
You know, so Eleanor Roosevelt had very similar background to Queen Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lifestyle. You know, just you know, with Mrs. Roosevelt, how she carried herself. You know, in a royal and regal space.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, she was a little, even though she was outspoken, but she carried herself, you know, really high. You know, now that's not to say that Betty Ford nor Michelle Obama did not, but I just know that there was a difference in air. Now, what I will say too is that Eleanor did have family, you know, her uncle being a president also,
Right.
you know, so,
So it was more similar to the Queen, where she had royalty in her blood, if you would.
right. So she was already used to being in the White House, you know, per the series. She knew what the secret rooms were, you know, things like that. So, you know, so for her to be in that space, she already knew what it meant to be, in that, how to carry herself.
Right, right.
No matter how old she was or whatever, you know, her background was, she knew, you know, how to make that happen. So, you know, when we're looking at, as you're talking about, women in power, in leadership roles, you know, I think that there still is a struggle
Yes.
with a lot of that. And we still have a lot of strides and a lot of, barriers that needs to be made, and it needs to be hurdled, or broken down. And a lot of it comes down to, in my opinion, is respect. Is respect. You know, how, you know, and that's not just from a man's perspective. That's even woman to woman.
Correct.
You know, it's almost like, you know, can you really, can you respect a woman in a higher position?
Mm-hmm.
You know, can you look at them as a person versus their gender? You know, and then let alone their background being, you know, whether or not they're black, they're white, Native American, Asian, whatever their, you know, their ethnic background is, and then on top of that, what language they speak. You know, so you have all these barriers that people kind of put up that allow you not to respect the individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then let alone be in a position higher than me. People have a problem with that.
Right.
You know, they really do. So, and interesting enough, if you get to know, or I'll put it like this, per the series, if you were able to get close enough to some of these women in power, they were really down to earth.
Very much so. And I think I liked that part of the series, that it showed them both the powerful side of them, as well as them, the human side, the mothering side,
right,
the caring side. Because all three had children, all three were family people, all three had a career
right,
prior to, you know, being married. So that was really good to see, that they weren't just first women and first ladies and that's it.
right,
That they had other things that they were interested in, and they were interested in some of those things prior to even seeing, you know, or getting married or even dating the person that they married. So that was really good to see. And the things that they had brought up while in office, their missions and things like that, that those are things that had gone back further. But it was just really interesting to see how all of that played out and how they were strong women through it all and leading through it all.
right. I think one of the keys to their success was having a spouse that understood them to a degree. because otherwise, in some cases, if their spouse was not supportive, they may not have been able to be heard. You think back to old days, right, where the women should be seen and not heard, where you split them up on different sides of the church or whatever the situation was. But now where their voices, women's voices, your voice, Kyle, is just as meaningful as at any time. It's just that whether people want to hear it or not, do they want to respect it or not? I think that's the key, that their spouse was able to sit back and listen to them, take some of their, even though it might not have been, we're talking about the first ladies, their voice may not have been the prominent voice, right? But they were able to take their ideas and still implement them, to show that they still value what they got to say, what's going on or whatever. Whereas with Queen Elizabeth, she was that voice to some degree. Understand that there, yes, it's a monarch, but she's technically not running the country per se. It's really the parliament and prime minister and all that type of stuff, but she was the voice, and she was the one that people were like, yo, you are it. We have to bow down to you, where the other three ladies didn't necessarily have that space. And they were also not allowed to mess up. I never heard of any mess ups that Queen Elizabeth had, right? But you know definitely about Betty Ford,
right?
But that's just the human side of her. I think that's the
difference. I mean, when you hear stories about the Queen and that family,
right?
And some family members have come out and said, like, no, they have power. They shut everything down. If something comes out, it's not going to make the news, because they will pay off whoever they have to pay off and shut up whoever they have to shut up, so that it doesn't come out. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the difference. Mm-hmm. That they want to be honored and revered, and most people want that as well. They don't want a stained government. They don't want a stained leadership. So, yeah, that might sell in tabloids and things like that, but for the most part, no. And it's going to be hush. It's going to be quieted.
Right.
No, I mean, yes, there were times where things, get out and it's questioned and things like that. But for the most part, no, they don't. That gets quieted. And we've heard interviews in the past.
But let's be honest, though. I mean, in most cases, and not just from their space, but in most cases, if you have the money, mm-hmm. you can quiet most things if you have the money. Or
if you can make a bigger headline.
Right.
And I think that happens more so here in these side of the waters, that those with money will, okay, well, you think that's the story? Well, let me put a bigger story out, because they control some of that. They have their own paparazzi following them around and their own way of getting stories out, mm-hmm. So that beats what everything else somebody else can say.
And I think that, not just those individuals, but if you have the what appears to be a bigger story, mm-hmm. right? Because something's always going on. And so let's say if I tripped and fell, but somebody's bishop tripped and fell, well, that's going to be a bigger story than me, right? Because of whoever's covering it, what tabloid gets there first, whatever it is. I think it just is based off of who it is, where it is, and the perceived level of where that individual is in society, perceived.
So, what I'm getting at, is that if I know that there's people out there taking pictures and I trip and fall, but I have my own staff, I can have them put out, I tripped and fell saving a dog, versus somebody else like, oh, look at her, she tripped and fell. So I'm kind of controlling the narrative with it. Because then it's going to be like, oh, she saved the dog, not like, oh, she can't walk, she was drunk. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what's going to come out, like, oh, she tripped and fell because, and then they're going to add in.
But see, I think what happens in those situations, so I'm not sure if they would say you were saving a dog versus if you're saving a dog, because a dog may not even be in the picture, right? But if they turn it into a meme and make fun of it, you get what I mean? Like you said, they control the narrative. Whether it's your team or someone else's team that does that immediately, then next thing you know, it's a whole nother situation.
Right.
You know, so like the biggest meme, I think it's still, you see it today, I thought it would die out by now, is that Jordan crying face. You know, but why is that so huge? Is it because he's pretty much the biggest face of the NBA ever? Or because now he's a NBA owner, a billionaire, whatever it is? Why is it that he, that meme is so large? Now, is he making that image? Is he making money off of that? Who knows? Because his shoes are still selling, or whatever it is. So as long as my face is still out there, good or bad, everybody knows that that's publicity. Period.
Right.
Everybody knows that. So, but ultimately, I think that this whole thing with the Queen passing and all the publicity, both positive and negative, you just have to respect her position, the fact that she held on for it for so long. Some people were saying that her love for Prince Charles was so deep that she finally went on to be with his name was Prince Philip. Her love was so deep that she finally, went on to join him, or whatever the situations are. I'm not. I'm not one that's like, oh, I'm Mr. Queen. Like, I'm not in that space. But I respect her position. I respect her, her sense of elegance, keeping that position in such a high regard. But you just wonder, with the modernization of life, how life has changed over her 70 years. How would that monarch position change over a period of time? Yeah. Just like when you take a look at from Eleanor Roosevelt all the way up to Michelle Obama, what has changed just from a first lady perspective, right? To now, even from Eleanor Roosevelt to the closest position that you can get to, which would be vice president. Now you have
Mrs. Harris.
Yes, I couldn't remember her name, like I was drawing a blank. So people are getting there. Women are getting to leadership positions within the United States, but and they're starting to get a little more respected, but we still have a little ways to go.
Yes.
We still got a little ways to go. So you know what? We thank y'all for listening to us today.
Thank you.
And be sure to
come back.
Yeah, right. We're going to make a real concerted effort not to hold y'all waiting for such a long time next go round. When we go on vacation, it won't feel like a permanent vacation, y'all. So we thank y'all. Like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on social media.
If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist-recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.